A lot of people struggle to obtain success simply because they're unaware of this life hack. If you try this, I find it very hard to not be successful. I know it's worked for me, and that's why I'm going to share it. Something I learned as a therapist is having seasons of doing absolutely nothing can actually catapult you into success. But how? How do you obtain success if you're not doing anything? Well, I'm glad you found this video because I'm going to tell you. The law of rhythm basically states that nature operates in cycles. Everything does, including you. Circadian cycles, menstrual cycles, seasons, everything. In order to maximize your productivity without doing so much work, that's something you're going to have to understand. To perform better, you have to have periods of time where you sit the fuck out of everything. So what's the science behind taking time off and still achieving things? Well, that falls on potential and kinetic energy. There are two forms of energy, potential energy and kinetic energy. Potential energy is the energy you build while you're resting. This energy gets transformed into kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. The more potential energy you earn in your resting season, the more you have to turn into kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. So the more productive you'll be and the better your performance will be. And this is the one thing many successful people leave out. One thing successful people do is rest. They might push to 5 a.m. or go hard narrative, but they do rest. So let's tie this back into the law of rhythm, which says everything in nature operates in a cycle. We see this in the fall of leaves, the hibernation of animals, etc. So the goal would be to obtain a substantial amount of rest, potential energy, but also to understand when it's time to get active, because too much rest will create too much potential energy. And if you don't get active and convert that potential energy into kinetic energy, well, that's a recipe for disaster. So how do we know when it's time to rest versus when it's time to get active? Luckily, our bodies will tell us. When you rest too much or when you've built up enough potential energy, you might begin to feel anxious or get racing thoughts. You might get a burst of ideas or even have a sense of FOMO. It's literally going to feel like there's something you should be doing. You won't be able to rest because your mind and body will be trying to indicate to you that it's time to move. And this goes both ways, right? If we're on all the time, we'll burn out and even start to experience symptoms of anxiety and depression as well. Y'all, this is how I use science to obtain success in my personal life by understanding the flow of life, understanding that there's seasons, and partaking in all of them. I'm going to keep it real. One thing I'm going to do is rest when it's time. I love a good rest. And that's because when it is active season, when it's time to use that kinetic energy, I really lock in and go. So when it's time to rest and start building back up potential energy, I don't feel guilty or feel like I'm missing out because I maximized an active season. I can guarantee when you start living this way, you're going to start experiencing a lot of success. You're going to feel like you didn't even have to sweat for it simply because you're behaving how you were born to behave, respecting your seasons and natural cycles. I'm making this video to kind of ease anyone's anxiety who's trying to burn themselves out or strain themselves in the process of accomplishing something. I'm also making this video for those of you who are not moving enough. A lot of the times we're just building up all this potential energy, ignoring all the signs that it's actually time to go, time to move, time to transform that energy into kinetic. And we think that we're not doing anything because we're depressed, but we're actually feeling symptoms of depression because we're not doing anything. We're not converting. Anyway, I hope this helps. If this is something you're going to try, let me know in the comments. Love y'all forever.